So I think we can start. So good afternoon to all the participants and to our distinguished guests. My name is Michele Bruni and I'm the Chief Commercial Officer of Inspira Farms. I would like to welcome everyone to this fifth webinar of the Inspira Farms series that so far has seen almost 2,000 individual participants in this series. Today we're going to deep dive into post-harvest treatment for key crops, trying to learn from world-known experts on berries, avocados, and other high-value tropical fruits. We have roughly 1.5 hours for the discussion with our 4 panelists and a special guest, the CEO of the Avocado Society of Kenya. For this webinar, we have about 500 registrants from 20 countries. And I would like to start with a special acknowledgement to the Inspira Farms team who has organized this series of webinars and this webinar in particular. So Paula, Grace, Fernando, Rodney, Stephen and Chris, thank you so much. And I would like to thank as well the Avocado Society of Kenya, FPIC, the Fresh Produce Exporter Association of Kenya, and Global Cold Chain Alliance, organizations that we are proud members of and that with whom we keep having a solid partnership. In terms of agenda, we're going to start with a brief introduction of each one of the panelists, and then an introduction and an initial guiding question from our special guests. We're going to follow up with 45 minutes of discussion between the panelists, and in the meanwhile the participants will be able to post in the chat that you find at the bottom the questions that you would like to pose to the panelists, and the Inspira Farms team will collect those questions and make them available to the panel. Now, before introducing our guests, I want to take just a few minutes to provide a brief intro to the topic. Inspira Farms develops first mile cooling systems exclusively to serve and improve fresh produce, agribusinesses, and supply chain. For us, reducing losses, increasing shelf life, reducing OPEX, enabling access to data, and providing finance is fundamental to increase agribusinesses' bottom line and return on investments. We do not do anything else, and that's why for us it's fundamental to be the best at these, to keep learning from the specialists such as the guests that we have today, and as well from our customers. I think that we need to acknowledge that at this moment in time, replacement of imports, especially if we're looking at Africa, replacement of imports, consolidation of regional and national retailers, and a booming export of high-value crops are the key drivers for cold chain in Africa today. The demand of fresh keeps growing, driven by higher consumption of fresh produce by millennials, growing urban middle class, and Far East consumers, and a demand for superfoods for health-related reasons that has become even more important under the COVID-19 scenario. So, and what we're observing is that while thousands and thousands of hectares of new planting have gone in, the post-harvest infrastructure keeps being scarce, outdated, or inefficient, and that is one of the key bottlenecks preventing the shelf life and quality that can enable to capture more value. And I think one key point is on value, meaning on average, African agribusinesses are still capturing roughly 50% of the global average. So we will really focus today on trying to understand the challenges, the opportunities, and the potential solution to enable agribusinesses and fresh produce supply chain to capture that value. I think I've already taken enough time, so I would like our guests just to introduce themselves. I would say that 3 minutes each should be sufficient, and trying to point out what are the the key opportunities or challenges, the key points around really the post-harvest for high-value crops, or in general for the high-value crop supply chains. And I would like to start with Heather. Hi, Heather. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Heather McSorley. I'm based in Harare, Zimbabwe. I'm a freight and cold chain consultant. I've worked with various crops ranging from peas, blueberries, stone fruit, lychees, and most recently apples. I'm more operations focused, so I'm not really academic and on the research side of things. So a lot of my experiences and my input come from on the ground learning and school fees. So I hope you find it valuable. In terms of the top opportunities, what I would like people to take away from today is really understanding the difference between static cooling and forced air cooling and how you can control airflow. In the last year, we've had so much of issues that are out of our control, and I don't know why you wouldn't focus on something that you can control. The focus on first mile, so starting the cold chain as soon as possible and then maintaining it throughout is critical. And if you can get that right, you can access markets that are further away. You can move from air freight to ocean freight. You can reduce losses, reduce rejections on arrival at final markets. So it's a really powerful tool. It's not about just production and marketing. The cold chain is so significant in this industry. So I hope you'll find things interesting today. Thanks, Michele.
Thank you, Heather. I would like to ask then Brian to go ahead. Thank you and welcome.
Thanks very much, Michele, and welcome everybody. My name is Brian Royston. I work for Zimbabwe Flour Exports, based in Harare as well, and we are fresh produce exporters. Quite a few different crops as well as flowers. And I think for the purposes of today, we'll discuss the blueberries. So my sort of opportunities that I notice, one I think is staying relevant in the blueberry game at the moment, and I think that those factors are, one is having the right genetics, working with the right growers, working with the right marketing agents, and also making sure that you've got the right cold chain logistics in place so that you can ensure your quality is absolutely top notch and you can stay relevant in the market in that sense. I think there's been a huge shift from air freight to ocean freight, and I think that to run on the back of what Heather said there, that first mile of cold chain is so incredibly critical going forwards. To move from air freight to ocean freight is key, and for me the most important part of that chain is starting in the field. I'm an agronomist. My involvement with Inspira Farms has been working with some of our growers, designing and putting together these cold chain facilities. So the most important for me is the removal of the field heat and getting that product into your pack shed as soon as possible. Thanks very much, and I hope that you enjoy the next hour and a half.
Thank you, Brian. Atta, please.
Thank you, Michele.
And welcome.
My name is Arthur Mandes. I'm a tropical agricultural engineer by trade. I've had 2 decades experience working in the fresh produce sector for UK importers, serving retailers, wholesalers and processors. In addition, I've worked in the beverage industry. So a wealth of experience on a variety of crops internationally. I've also specialized in post-harvest with modified atmosphere packaging and green technologies to extend the shelf life of fresh produce. And I'm also involved in consultancy to the agri-food sector. So some of my involvement includes developing international sustainability standards and consultancy for agri-food companies. In terms of top 3 opportunities and challenges, I think the first thing we need to recognize is that Sub-Saharan Africa represents a significant potential, a lot of untapped lands and water resources are to be found in Sub-Saharan Africa, and it's an opportunity to do agriculture differently. So if you think that modern agriculture itself is moving away from some of the intensification that has led to biodiversity loss and environmental degradation, I think there's opportunities there. But as we move from regional to export and high value products, the 2 things which we need to be mindful of, one is the chain of custody. So the chain of custody becomes longer. And just to echo Heather and Brian's comments, that the actions you take in your chain, in your custody, have repercussions much further down that supply chain. So often you see a lack of awareness or consideration of that full supply chain. The second one is, as you do develop high value products, you may be moving away from traditional markets, and the importance of post-harvest management becomes critical, because if you start handling products where there's no local or regional sale opportunities, then your reliance on export becomes more important. So opportunities tied in with risks.
Thank you, Atta. And last but absolutely not least, Fritz, welcome to you as well. Please.
Thank you, Miguel. I'm very pleased to be a speaker in this webinar. My name is Fritz Popma. I believe the senior in this society. I'm based in the Netherlands. I have 20 years my own company, consulting company. It's a one-man show. I work for multinationals, transport companies, independent ripeners, and retailers. I'm specialized in ripening. Ripening bananas, mangoes, avocados, papayas is something which is difficult to learn in the school or in university. That's why I stepped in 20 years ago as the missing link between producers and consumers. I work also with universities, and as the other panelists have a lot of experience in setting up programs, I'm more in project management and problem solving. That's it.
Thank you, Fritz.
For now.
Thank you. Thanks, all the panelists who introducing themselves. I think that's, very interestingly has emerged as well, a cross-cutting issue of sustainability in terms of resources, whether we're talking about the resources dedicated to logistics or the ones dedicated to making possible to have, similar type of outputs that we have today as well in the long term. And probably it's something that was not probably planned in the discussion, but we're going to touch base on